Witam po przerwie. Kolejny wykład wygłosi Ted Neward. Tytuł wykładu Basic Java Developers Guide to Scala Introduction. Proszę o brawę.
Good afternoon. Okay. Let's see. Quick check of the audience. First of all, how many people have written Scala code before now? Two hands very proudly displayed. Yeah. How many people have heard of Scala before now? Okay, that's good. That's good. How many people are thinking that Scala is an Italian word meaning escalator? Yeah, you know because I told you. Stop that. How many people went to the F-sharp talk earlier this morning? A couple of hands. Okay, excellent. How many people are still asleep from lunch? Okay. What I want to do with this particular talk is I want basically to introduce you to the Scala language. I want to give you a good grounding. As I said in the F-sharp talk, there is really no way that I can teach you a programming language in like an hour. It's just not possible. I mean, unless the language is particularly, simple and trivial and, well, quite frankly, not useful. There's just no way I can teach you the complete syntax to a programming language in 60 minutes. It's just not going to happen. So if that's what you were expecting, just fill out the, crappy score on the eval now and go. I mean, I'll just save you the time. What I want to do with this particular talk is I want to give you some basics around the Scala language, give you some idea of where it fits in sort of the continuum of programming languages, why you might care, to be very blunt about it. Show you some of the Scala syntax, walk you through some of the way Scala approaches things. In particular, contrasting it against Java, because Scala was written for the Java virtual machine. And so you can use Scala. I submit you can use Scala anywhere that you're currently using Java. We'll also be looking a little bit at what Scala's language semantics map to on top of the JVM. So we'll be using Java P, the Java bytecode disassembler, to sort of look at the structure of a Scala class when it gets turned into a class file, blah, blah, blah. The intent here is essentially to, as I said earlier this morning, the goal here is to make you dangerous. To teach you just enough of the Scala syntax that you can convince your coworkers that, yes, you do know what you're talking about, even though, no, you won't. Just take that as a given right now. But also to sort of give you a leg up on being able to read some of the Scala books that are coming out now, some of the Scala articles, sort of do some experimentation on your own, play around with the Scala language, some of the APIs, the libraries, et cetera, et cetera. Any questions on what I'm going to do? No? Okay. So, a couple of things, sort of high-level kinds of stuff before we get going too far. That's me. You probably don't care. What we're going to do. So, quick question. How many people here know Java? Okay, true or false? This is Quicksort in Java. True? How many people agree with them? Hands up, come on. Java is famed for being easy to read. It's a simple language. It's easy to understand. You should be able to look at this and know whether I'm telling the truth or not, right? Right? I mean, if it's simple and easy and, I could have been worse. I could have written this in C++, right? Then we would have had some pointers, right? We could have maybe had some templates in here. Or if I really wanted, I could have written it in Perl and it would have just looked like my cat walked across the keyboard, right? I mean, is this or is this not a Quicksort implementation in Java? I'll save you the trouble. It is. Is there a bug in there? Here's the interesting thing. If you're like most Java programmers, right, assume for a moment we're in a code review, right? I've written this code, I'm putting it up on the screen, and I'm saying, hey, what do you guys think? Right? You guys are all laughing. They're like, looks good to me. Just commit it and let's move on, man. What's that? Please show you the unit tests. What? Because if I wrote unit tests, that means implicitly it passed? Oh, no, well, okay, yeah, now we're starting to back away from that. Here's the thing. Is this a good implementation of a Quicksort? I don't know, I stole it from somebody else, so how the hell should I know? Now, this is Quicksort in Scala. What do you notice about it? It's a lot shorter, man. A lot less code there to think about. And I don't expect you to understand the Scala syntax at this point. That's what we're here for. But very bluntly, right, what we're doing here, at least at some level, seems to be relatively well understood, right? The basic notion of a quicksort, right? We're going to choose a pivot point in the middle of this collection, and we're going to basically shove things to the left or to the right based on whether or not it's greater or less than that particular pivot point, right? Well, okay, let's see, if the length of this array is 1, well, then there's really nothing left to sort, and otherwise, pick a pivot point halfway through and concatenate everything that's greater than the pivot against everything that's equal to the pivot against everything that's less than the pivot, noticing that we're sorting both the greater and the less than side. Is that an implementation of Quicksort as you understand it? Go like this, right? I mean, assuming you know what a Quicksort is, of course. Assuming I know what a Quicksort is. The point here is basically to say that there are some interesting elements in the Scala language that will make what we're trying to do more clear. Because at the end of the day, that's the point of a programming language, right? Some other quick examples of Scala. How many of you do stuff with XML? Yeah, come on, XML was hot. We've all done it, right? You know. Hey, boss, I want to take our relational data and pull it into XML. Why? I don't know. It's just cool. Where have you been, man? Haven't you been reading the internet recently? So here, right, we've got some interesting, again, I'm not expecting you to understand the Scala syntax, but notice about halfway down here, right? Def the date equals, and then we see what kind of looks like almost JSP style syntax. Scala supports XML literals directly inside the language, complete with wildcard values. So curly brace name curly brace, just like we see it in JSP. That's a placeholder that says extract, in this case, the parameter name, and plop it in there as an attribute into that XML stream. Notice down below here, I'm actually doing, when I say XML/book, that's an XPath query. Now, the beautiful thing about this, I mean, you know, you can look at that and say, I don't particularly like that syntax. I don't particularly like the implications, the semantics perhaps behind that method call. And you may be thinking, if I don't like the way this reads, I'm kind of stuck with it because, gosh, that kind of looks like it's baked into the language. And the truth of it is it's not. One of the things that Scala does, like F#, it's sort of its cousin, over on the CLR side, is Scala does not believe in the notion of operator overloading. Scala believes that they're just methods with funny-looking names. So what we're seeing here effectively is a method invocation on that XML reference. There is a method defined on the scala.xml.xml node class called \. And that method does a child axis XPath query. And they've defined another method called \/ that does a descendant axis XPath query. And they've defined another method called @, which if you know XPath, you can probably already guess what it does. It does an attribute axis XPath query. And none of this is baked into the language as a whole. All of these are basically just API calls. This is one of the things that Scala looks to really try to